have a first-time visitor, Mike, the prepper nerd. How you doing, Mike?
Great. I'm doing great, Mike. How you doing?
I am doing excellent, my man. I apologize for the for the hiccups, but sometimes stuff does happen, man.
Happens to me too. Yep, not a problem.
Oh man, so Mike, man, I appreciate you taking time to join us, man. And I reached out to you a while ago just because, as a part of the RTD community, I've been trying to branch out to talk about things beyond just the monetary system. And of course, after what happened in Texas with the sudden weather conditions led it to a lot of power outage and food issues, I'm like, let me
Right.
just continue to expand my horizons. And so I came across your YouTube channel, of which I'll put it up here on the screen in a moment once my internet starts acting correctly. But you have an interesting product that I want to definitely talk about because it's something that I don't spend enough time talking about. It happens to be with food preparation and how to keep track of everything, man. So before we dive into that, if you don't mind, give the audience a little bit of who you are and a little bit how you got into the prepping game yourself.
Sure. Well, first, I'd just like to say thank you, Mike, for having me. It's really great to be here and great to be with all of you in the chat. In terms of my background, I have quite a bit of background in software development and project management. And so between those two things, right, the software development on the technical side and the project management on the kind of organizational side, as I started prepping seriously, early last year, probably about January, I was actually watching quite a few prepping YouTube channels at the end of 2019. So that kind of sensitized me to everything that was going on at the beginning of last year. So,
Yeah.
and, lucky for me that happened. I didn't have to deal with, the long lines at stores, food shortages and supply shortages and that kind of thing. So, but, as I started prepping seriously, I quickly ran into the issue where, I just felt completely disorganized. A lot of preppers in the community, they've been doing it a long time. Right.
Yeah.
And, some of them have, pantries or even rooms dedicated to, storing their food preps in a very organized way, just physically. Right. And they just rotate through it. And that just wasn't my situation at all. I was new to prepping. I didn't have any space really to speak of that I could allocate to it. And I just wasn't even thinking that way back early last year. So, I did what I thought was the best thing to do. And that was to, use bins or totes to kind of group like things together and use whatever space I could find in my house to stash it. So, but it just made me feel, I felt like I had a good supply of food, in case something unexpected and challenging came up, which is why we prep. But I didn't feel like I knew where everything was at. It just didn't feel organized to me. So, and my project management background kicked in and just wanted to keep an inventory, basically, is what I came down to, is just keep an inventory of, what I have, how, what it equates to in terms of sustenance. Really comes down to calories, right? How many days worth of calories do I have stored for my family? Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? And then, that relates to really what are my goals in prepping? What am I exactly prepping for? And then how long do I really need in order to provide sustenance for that period of time? So it's, what do I have? What calories in terms of, days of calories do I have on hand, and where is everything? So, I came up with a system. I was using Excel at the time, and, I have a lot of experience with Excel doing really, fancy things with Excel, but it just wasn't the tool for the job, and I wanted a solution that I could access on the go. Like if I'm in the store, I could check, what do I need, based on my preps. Yeah. So I ended up trying Google Sheets, which, was a free solution, but that didn't provide me anywhere near what I was looking for, which was more like kind of at a glance understanding of where I was in terms of my preps and where I was in terms of my goal. Yeah. So, just looking at a bunch of data on a spreadsheet is one thing, but being able to see it in a more visual way really, would help a lot. And actually I had experience with a a software platform called Smartsheet that I use all the time at work. It's a project management and collaboration tool. It's actually a very flexible online software that can be used for so many different things. And I just figured, why don't I just start a free trial of that and just see what I can come up with, in terms of putting something together that might be valuable for me in my own preps. And, I was able to do something that was so helpful and valuable and, even exciting for me in terms of motivating me to take the next step in my preparedness, right? That I ended up, for free trial turned into a paid subscription. And then, I was just building on that. And eventually about, I don't know, like September, October last year, I started just mentioning to people in comments of YouTube videos or live streams or whatever that I had put something together that was kind of cool. And some of the content creators had expressed interest, and I shared it with them kind of offline, like through email and whatever. And they just gave me a lot of encouragement to share that with others in the community. They thought it would be really helpful for people. So, one thing has led to another, and here I am. I've set up, I think it's around 270 people now on this prep inventory system. And, I've branched off a little bit with the system. It's primarily for, food inventorying and supplies and equipment inventorying related to preparedness.
Yeah.
But, I just actually introduced a new enhancement to it that is kind of like a shopping list feature. So it's like your preparedness shopping list. So you can keep things organized in terms of what you intend to buy related to your preps. So I'm going to keep expanding on it, as long as there's interest, and as long as I feel like, I'm helping the community that I feel like I've gotten so much, support from and encouragement from in terms of my own preparedness for myself and my family. I have a lot of gratitude for that, and I want to give back to the community. And this is just my own way of doing that.
Yeah. And one thing that caught my attention was it definitely, for me personally, when I saw it, it intrigued me because it solves a problem. Because for me, prepping is not necessarily something new to me, but yet I'm not organized at all. And so I've throughout the years, I buy stuff, and whether it be canned goods or whatever, and then I find myself in another year or two or so throwing stuff out because stuff expires. And so I've never dived deep into the education needed to take care, preserve, protect, and canning jar and all that stuff. I just don't have time, man. So I'm like, this right here can definitely help organize my current little stash of goods. I'll check it out. So that's why I'm like, man, let me go ahead and try to see who else has that same problem of just not knowing what they have, and then end up running out of time and stuff not been any good and stuff like that. So looking forward to find out more. And so I actually was able to download that little introduction video here. So I'm going to try to play it now, and then we'll dive into it further. And then, of course, it's a live session show. Got about 50 or so people tuning in. So feel free to ask questions, and as we move along, we'll definitely get those answered. And so I'm going to play this video real quick, and then we'll just jump in further from that. So let me try to figure out how to get this video going. And so let me move this right here. All right, so that's a little introduction as to what we're going to dive into. So I'm looking forward to it, man, because I'm a big fan of using technology to simplify your life. And so if there's something out there that can help organize and help me to better keep inventory on my side, I'm definitely open to hearing about it. So excited to dive in, Mike. So feel free, man. Let's dive into it because I'm curious to find out how all this has come together and all those details, man. So
I just wanted to kind of key in on something that you said right before the promo video there.
Yeah.
You talked about waste, right? I'm not really at the point yet in my prepping because I'm so new to it where, things are going bad necessarily. But one interesting thing, as I was preparing for, being on with you here today in this live stream I was thinking about how to communicate, the value of what I'm doing in the best way for your audience. And I know you talk about precious metals a lot, crypto a lot, right? And what really kept coming to mind was the question, how can I help your audience stack more precious metals? Because I mean, if I've been buying and stacking precious metals for about a year now, along with my preps, and I know that it's not only an investment and it's not just an insurance policy, right? But it's, also I just really I like having precious metals. I don't have nearly as much as I'd like to have, and there's probably plenty of others like me. So I was just thinking, how does my prep system actually help people in this community specifically? I know that there's preppers that watch your channel and you're branching out in that way, but I was just thinking specifically, how can I help everyone stack more precious metals? And it came down to one key problem. Actually, it was that the stat that I researched in the United States, the typical family averages $1,500 per year in food waste, according to the USDA. So, I know I could do a lot with $1,500 per year. It prevents us. This waste prevents us from building wealth for our families. This $1,500 in food waste per year prevents us from building our own preparedness for challenging times, even protecting ourselves from inflation, which I know a lot of people are saying is going to be pretty steep in the near future. Yeah. And I know, I think I'm in the right company in saying, $1,500 in food waste per year prevents us from stacking precious metals as quickly as we'd like to. So, the solution to that, and I think you touched on it, is actually pretty simple. It's that we need to be organized in our approach to managing our food, right? Whether we consider that food to be preparedness food or just our working everyday pantry, we need to be organized in how we manage that food so that we can minimize that food waste cost. And if we can be organized, we can prevent up to about $1,500 a year of waste per year. And wasted food is wasted money. So if I could give you an easy to use system that will help you track and manage your food to minimize your food waste, even if we can't eliminate completely all of the food waste, it's not going to be possible. But even half of that's quite a bit of money. So so there's some features of the system that we can get into that can make it easy for you to know when you need to actually rotate through food. So you don't have to remember it. You don't have to look through your preps all the time to figure out what needs to be rotated through. It's just like an automated system, reminder system. So you let me know where you want to start.
Yeah, I'm game now. I'm game. Open us up and let's see what we got going on. I'm curious to see how it all pans out. Let me share my screen here. Okay, so it's on the screen here. I'll zoom in so I can see it more on my side. We're good to go.
Okay, so this is the dashboard. This is like your hub. As a prepper, this is what makes my prepping visual, at a glance. I know, where I'm at in terms of my progress toward my prepping goal. Right. And this, it took me, over a year to get to this point in terms of my preps. And this is like a sample system, but, you can see some key information up in the upper left corner. You can see, in terms of days, weeks, or months, how much food you have prepped. And that's all based on, what you enter in your food inventory. And we can get to that point in just a second. Progress toward your goal, that, your goal is entered here in your calorie requirements, sheet that collects that information. How much food you've had in the last 7, 30 or 90 days. So you can see, my keeping my momentum, right? Because lots of times I think people get distracted into other priorities, and this can help bring you back to see, and like for me, this would say, wow, I need to refocus. And, and make some more progress toward my goals in terms of prepping. Days on hand per best by date range. So, to simplify this basically means for food. This column here means for food that's over 3 years away from its best by date. I have 136 days worth of calories of that food. Does that make sense?
It does.
So you can see, am I focusing too much short term? Am I focusing too much midterm? Or am I really, do I have an adequate amount for the long term?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I would assume that just that little small bar down at the bottom, according to this sample here, a lot of the concern is the long-term food storage, because it's heavily weighted towards that 3 year or so or longer time frame. And so I'd assume the closer you are is more likely your pantry, where it's like right in your kitchen and stuff you're going to rotate through. And assuming on the 3 or 4 year end, and that's when you probably have your more long-term food storage. As far as your dry goods and other things like the jarred, goods and all that type of stuff, assumably, right?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. I like seeing that there's this amount of, days on hand of long-term food, but yeah, I need to make sure that I understand, know specifically what's in these categories. Just because it's past the date doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I know there's a lot of information about that online about, what does the best by date really mean on a packaged food item. But the way that this system works, it's actually very flexible. I mean, you can enter the best by date that you see on a can, or you could enter your own kind of, assessment of, what date you want to use, use that item by. So just kind of giving a brief overview of the dashboard here to keep going. So days of calories per category. This shows me that I have a good distribution of calories across many different categories. It's not all rice. It's not all beans.
Mike, do me a favor real quick. Can you zoom in on the screen a little bit to make it? Okay. So, because I'm trying to read on my side. Okay, there we go.
Sure. Yeah. So you can see, all of these areas correspond with these categories over to the right. So yeah, if I saw like half of this chart was, beans, well, I might have, quite a few days of beans on hand, but, I'm not going to be excited about only eating beans. And this chart down below goes hand in hand with that, but this is based on servings. So whereas this was based on calories, this is based on servings. And it's the days of servings per category. So, when you start with the system, you would enter your needs in terms of, how many calories does your family need based on, the caloric needs of each person in your family. So, everybody's system is unique, configurable, customizable for you, for your needs. And then this sheet, you would indicate how many servings per person per day would you want to plan for each category. Okay. So based on servings, this is what that looks like. So you can see I have lots of days of servings of beans, and some of these areas down here, I don't have as many servings. And, the way that I read this is if my storage of food, preparedness food, was completely balanced, everything would be at 100%, because 100% means that I have 369 days worth of servings of that food. If I have more than that, that means that when I start getting closer to that number of days, then that's what I'm going to be eating, right? I'm going to run out of this stuff first. I'm going to end up eating this stuff. So that means, okay, so these represent my gaps. It makes it really easy and visual to see, okay, I need to focus my dollars, whatever I have budgeted for investing in preps this month, invest them in meat or, beverage items like water flavorings or coffee, for example. And these categories are also completely configurable. It's part of the setup process. When someone signs up for this system, they complete like what I call a preferences form. And one of the preferences that they provide is, what categories do you want to track? And that's just for setup. I provide ongoing support. So if people need to change their categories, they can just ask me to change the categories, because it needs change over time. And I help people as they go. So it also tracks supplies. This is just a list of supplies and equipment. And anything basically that's not caloric in nature can be tracked in the supplies inventory.
Yeah. Now, one of the biggest things that, because I title this, get your calories up. And
Mhm.
so, outside of, my metals theme of get your weight up, referring to precious metals, a lot of people in the community have also mentioned about, their desire to make sure you have seeds and as well as food and water and all those other essentials for whatever might come your way, or just to have as a reserve in general, because in this society where, every Friday, usually grocery store shopping as opposed to having actually something some in the form of reserves of food. And so the calorie side of thing, as far as knowing the calories you need for your family or whatever, is there any type of way of trying to figure out how or what, where, depending on your family size, or how do you go about determining the calories that you would want to stack?
Well, I mean, I think that information is pretty widely available online.
Mhm.
You could anybody could do a quick Google search and figure out, this is me, this is what I'm planning for calories per
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
My wife, my daughters, my
Mhm.
younger daughter here, my older daughter here. So these are estimates.
Mhm.
It may not, it's not going to necessarily be precise, but it's a pretty good assessment of the amount of food they would eat on a regular basis. Now, one thing to consider though, it depends on what you're prepping for, right? Because
Mhm.
certain situations may require quite a bit more physical activity
Mhm.
than people may be used to. So you'd have to have a plan for more calories per day in order to fuel, right, so to
Yeah.
speak, that
Yeah.
activity. So this is a pretty normal level of calories for my
Mhm.
family. So, but if I was preparing for one of those types of situations, this would have to be 3,000 to 4,000 probably.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, you can do your own research. I don't like to necessarily provide guidance
Yeah.
where the guidance is readily available. I'm just trying to provide the tool
Yeah.
to organize the information. But yeah, you can configure. You can add as many people as you want, and whatever calories you think are appropriate for your family. And then, by the way, since we're here, this is where you would enter your goal number of
Yeah.
days of stored food.
Yeah. 365. Okay. So let's so for example, someone's new first your first, you're interested, you wanna, I guess, begin cataloging your own current stack of calories that you have. Give us the, like, as soon as I open this up, how am I register my cans, or give us the little rundown for day one type of thing. What would you typically do day one?
Yeah, so actually, I'm actually putting together a getting started checklist. I
Hmm.
think that will help people as they, acclimate to the tool,
Yeah.
make it really easy. But pretty much it's, first things first, you would want to enter your needs, which we just covered here,
Yeah.
right? Then you'd want to enter your wants based on the categories that you've selected. How many servings of each of those do you want to be able to plan for? And
Hmm.
then you just dive in and you can start adding food to the food inventory. And the food inventory, I mean, when you start, will just be blank,
Hmm.
right? Like this, it'll actually provide you with a sample record at the top, just to give you like a recommendation on how to, you know, uh, how to describe your food items and like the
Hmm.
format to use and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you can see here there's a barcode field, so you can actually scan barcodes with your cell phone. And when you do that using the mobile app that's available through Smartsheet, it'll pre-fill the fields. If I have if I have the information for that barcode, it'll pre-fill all these fields, so you don't have to worry about the calories. It'll just pull it in automatically, and then all you have to do is tell it where it is. If you're tracking storage container name, then you'll
Hmm.
see these columns, and I can say, okay, it's in the freezer. And sometimes, like my bins, for example, I have names just written on the bin itself, so I can understand what bin that is. But that could be, it doesn't have to be names like this. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you want to be kind of more covert about it.
Yeah.
But then you've got the best by date here, which again, the system will take whatever value you want to use here, but I just call it best by date. But it could be, you could use the best by date on the can plus a year if you wanted to, depending
Hmm.
on your assessment of how reliable best by dates are. But this is really just the trigger for the automation that can be set up to automatically remind you when that date is either approaching or has been reached. So that can be sent to you automatically, and you might not have even used the system for a week, and it'll automatically send you an email saying this item has reached its best by date. So it triggers you to say, okay, I don't want to waste. And, that's money, that I could be saving towards something better. So, I want to rotate through that food.
Yeah.
And then you just enter the package quantity. Some of these fields are actually optional fields. I'll go ahead and hide these, but you would enter the package quantity. In this case, it pulled in the servings per package and the calories per serving. And if I just enter, like if I bought, a case of, 8 of them, right? So then it'll give you the total servings, which is just, 8 times 7, total calories, which is calories times servings times package quantity. And then the days on hand for calories, this line item right here, this food item that I just bought represents a quarter of a day worth of sustenance for my family. 1,680 calories out of the total calories my family needs represents a quarter of a day of calories if I ate nothing but this, right? Yeah. But based on my servings plan, it represents 14 days of servings. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Man, okay. It's very detailed. Yeah, down to the very day. I dig this. Oh man. Now watch this. Let me so while we're going through this, I'm curious for those that are tuning in, if you have any questions or anything jumps out that you guys want to find out more about, feel free to go ahead and throw it up in the chat. Just highlight at Rethinking a Dollar to stand out, and then I'll definitely put it out there. But yeah, that very detailed. So I'm trying to figure like, okay, with a system like this, it forces you to be organized. And so I'm thinking like, how would I become more conscientious of actually, I guess, like every Friday deciding to like check in, and when I go grocery shopping or when I look to buy extra things, categorizing it and putting the details in there. And man, this is serious.
Yeah, well, it's serious because the tool itself provides so much functionality, and I'm just trying to leverage what's available, to help people meet the goals, their prepping goals. So like to answer your question about, how would I potentially be reminded every Friday to, do a review or to add items, you can actually set reminders, for the sheet as a whole.
Yeah.
And this would automatically send you a reminder. I would set this up for you actually. So you would just say, hey, Mike, can you set me up a reminder every Friday that I want to review my food inventory? And it's like, okay, it's done. Yeah. So I don't necessarily want people to, get overwhelmed by, some of the more technical things. So that's why I provide that as part of my service.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's something you can do. And like I said, I mean, the Best By date notification is similar, right? So it's just based on the date in that particular row, right? So, but this, it may have seemed, really detailed the first time you see it like this, and maybe even, I hope not complicated. It's pretty straightforward in terms of what's being captured. It's doing the calculations for you. So, you don't have to do them yourself, and so that you have that graphical view, that one-stop, one at a glance view of, where you are with your preps. But if you wanted, you could simplify the way that you use this. Actually, you could say, you know what, I don't care about the calories. I just want Best By date reminders, because like when I said before, the $1,500 per family per year that is, the average food waste per year, that's pretty much based on, just things going bad that you probably had forgotten about, that you have stored up, right? So you can use as much of this or as little of this as is relevant to you, I guess is my point. So if you just wanted reminders on your Best By dates, then that's how you can use it. You don't even have to worry about the rest. And I even ask people if they want to use a Best By date fields in the preferences form when I first set them up, because some people don't use the Best By date fields because they say they don't trust what's on the can, or on the packaging. So they just use it from a, caloric tracking perspective, and ultimately to see, where they're at in terms of total stored food that they have on hand. And, the reason for that, it's been really interesting to me as I've set up, like I said, well, let me see. It was, 270 people. I was right on the button. Okay. So 270 people, I get so much feedback from people, as they start using the system. I mean, there's a lot of people that find out that they have more than they thought they had. And there's a lot of people that say, that they have a lot less than they thought that they had, right? So when you're
Yeah.
preparing, if your goal is, or you think you have 6 months of food and you're feeling comfortable and confident with that, when really you only have 3 months of food, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a big problem, because if that event happens, you're gonna be overconfident. And then when you start, budgeting or rationing your food, you're going to run out a lot faster than you think. One person actually told me, and this is someone that has been prepping for quite a long time, thought he had 5 years of food preps, and he actually has about a year.
Really?
So that's a pretty stark difference, right?
Yeah, it is.
So it's a big eye opener. Yeah.
So that person you're referring to, I assume that, just based upon the amount of food they have on shelves and closets or wherever they had it at, in their mind, they said that's about 5 years. But yet when they actually did an inventory check on the calorie side of things,
Right.
is when they determined that it's only one. That's
Exactly.
That is pretty serious.
Yeah. When the SHTF event happens, I don't want to have surprises like that.
Yeah. And that's the so that middle category there, where we got the bars just displaying whether you got too many beans or not enough meat, and so based upon the 270 or so people you have currently now, the goal, of course, as you mentioned, to be at 100% or beyond. But is that something that's common, or that's ultimately something you want to work towards to try to balance yourself out as much as you can?
Yeah. So again, the goal here is actually to have all of the categories at 100%, because as you add to these categories that are under 100%, these categories are going to go down, because as a percentage of the whole, they'll equate to being 100% or closer to 100% of this level. It gets a little, technical, but just as an objective in terms of balance, you'd want to strive for, being at 100% across all of these categories. Now, dessert, that's not necessarily my priority, right? It does not bother me that we're at 41%, but meat, that, I think that's somewhere that I want to focus. Breakfast, I categorize like oats and oatmeal in this category. So I probably do want to bump up my storage of this category, for example. Some of these other categories are not as important, which is why they're toward the bottom. But, it just gives me a good sense of, that this actually represents to me a fairly good balance. I've seen, I know some people's chart looks way out of balance, and that's part of the value of this tool, right? When you enter what you have and you realize how out of balance you are, then it's actionable. Right. You can make decisions based on this information that you didn't have before, based on the same preps that you have, but now you realize where you need to focus your time, effort, and energy.
So I'm not sure if this is a question it's relative to what but we have Miles mentioned about the best protein powders for stacking. Is that something that, in setting up your 270 or so people, is there many people out there who have a category for protein powder and stuff like that, or where would that probably fall under, you think?
Well, I don't necessarily know the answer to that question. It's not something that I am prepping with, protein powder. It's a great idea. It's probably something that I've been neglecting so far. So that I've just written myself a note about that. Actually, I don't know why I haven't thought about that, but I haven't seen like a protein powder category, but I have definitely seen protein as a category. So for me, I have meat as a category, but I don't have, a more generic or general protein category. So it could be that other people are using that category for protein powders. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. And so that's also a category that you can add in if that was a high priority for somebody and they wanted to really be, nitpicky with that one and have that as a part of their category. That's something that can be added in, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So when they first sign up and they get a link to the preferences form, they can tell me exactly what categories they want to track for.
Okay, good deal. So I'm excited to have an opportunity because it gets me thinking about the gaps in my preps, because I would be lying if I said I knew I had 3, 4, 5 years worth of food. I know that's not the case, but I'm really intrigued with the idea of being more balanced. And that's where I know that's never been a priority before, because I never really looked at it that way. It's always about just having some food in case of something, but not necessarily having it categorized to where I have certain types for the types of calories needed for whatever the event might be. So really gets me thinking, man, like, man, it really shows how vulnerable I am.
I think it's a matter of kind of a evolution, so to speak, right? Everybody goes through phases of kind of their experience level or their level of focus in their preparation, right? So I was definitely not thinking about balance in the very beginning. I was just thinking, how do I get my hands on calories, and how do I store up, long-term food? And I was thinking rice and beans at the time, which I think is a great first step. I wouldn't start thinking about balance necessarily until you've got a few months of rice and beans under your belt. And then it gets a little more, you start thinking, okay, well, I don't want to eat 3 months of rice and beans if something does happen. And 3 months of food, that's quite a bit of food, but there are things that can happen that can really disrupt our food distribution system. And the system is, somewhat susceptible, right, to different things that, lots of other YouTubers talk about. So I don't necessarily go into those things, but I do try to provide a solution for people to be prepared and organized.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I definitely, have a much deeper understanding of what's going on. It really makes me think about, just the beginning steps of, how I can begin categorizing, my own preps, just because I have no categories whatsoever. So it really makes me feel like, man, I'm really behind the 8 ball. But I'm glad that there's a tool like this that can help you expose that areas and help you get on the right track, man. So I'm definitely looking forward to diving in deeper myself, man. But so for those tuning in, man, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And then for those that might have interest in finding out more, I want to be able to point them in a direction where they can, get more information as well as sign up. So take us through, I guess, the process to, I guess, the first step of trying to get on board and all the things needed to get an account set up, I guess.
Sure. So, so you can go ahead and sign up straight from my website here. It's prepper-nerd.com. You can click any of these Get Yours Now buttons. It'll take you to the checkout page. And I think, we have a coupon available for your audience. Do you want to share that now?
Yep, I'll share. I was keep talking. I'll put it up on my, because I'll put everything into the description for those that might catch it later. But feel free. Coupon code is RTD. So, but go ahead, continue on.
Okay. So it basically asks for the information that I would need in order to set you up. So, it's just some preliminary questions. And then here it's about the categories you want to store or use for your preps. If you want to store where, or if you want to track where your food is stored, like the room it's in, or the type of container, or the container names, for example. If you select any of those, then it'll open up some new fields here. You can tell me exactly what options you want there. Do you want to track best by dates? Yes or no? Do you want to track target package quantity for food? Yes or no? And then the same thing for supplies in terms of categories. What categories you want to use for supplies? And again, target package quantity for supplies, yes or no? And then just any other comments or direction. But again, this is just the initial setup process. But once you're using your system, once you're set up, you have my support to make any customizations that you need over time, because I know your needs may change over time. So that's part of my service, is to provide that ongoing support.
Yeah. Now, one thing I'll be interested to find out, because I'm setting mine up, so it's going to be for sure. But I wonder, like, as far as a community prep page, where I want to try to think about, like, how to hold a community accountable type of thing, like where we can all work towards balancing ourselves out in our preps, and hold each other accountable, but yet also still have that sense of not necessarily privacy, but yet is there, like, so on the back end on your side there, is there a way where we can see how we can, like, I'm trying to figure out a way to make it a community involvement type of event, to where, we can hold each other accountable to make sure we get our weight up as well as get our calories up, and encourage each other on the calorie side, because that's something, as I mentioned, I haven't really covered much of. But definitely, I know I would need to be held accountable on my side as well from the community. So if I'm slacking one week or not adding to my certain goals, and I'm like, hey, call me out type of thing. Is that something that's possible or something that you're familiar with?
I think I'd have to give that some thought. I mean, it's certainly possible. It sounds like it's possible. It's just a matter of how we would solve for that, right? So yeah, there's been other things that people have asked about that. It just takes a little time to figure out the best way to solve for it. But definitely possible to organize the additional information like that. Here, I'm actually pointing to one of the menu items on my website here. It's got some additional tools that are available, for free just on my website that are similar in nature. Like people have asked for these different tools, so I've made them available just to be of service to the community. For example, a live stream guide. For example, you can see like upcoming live streams on YouTube. One of the things people are talking about is just there's so many content creators, and even in this prepper community, that they were having a hard time kind of keeping up on who's going live and when. So I've got this little calendar. It's like a TV guide. Got this tool here, shelf life reference. I mean, and you don't need to be subscribed to, my service to have access to these. They're just on my website. So, this is a shelf life reference. Just gives you some information, and it's a work in progress, right? I've set up the structure, and people can contribute using the suggest and edit or addition, contribute content, and then I research what they've contributed and either approve or deny adding it to the sheet. Some recommended resources like different topics that people would be interested about. And you can see here, Provident Preppers, a channel that actually featured me on one of their videos. They've added quite a few items here that, preppers would be interested in knowing about. So they've added them to the resources page, recommended channels, either, different prepper channels for, especially good for new preppers, right? Just getting into this and wanting to learn as much as possible. I know this would have been awesome for me when I first started. Canned food reference, which is pretty much what it sounds like. Although, really, this is a bigger problem than just canned food. The problem, and when I say problem, I just mean a challenge. It's really, what is, serving sizes, calories per serving, and servings per package for anything that's packaged at home. So that could be 5-gallon buckets of stuff. It could be jars. It could really be almost anything that would be packaged at home. We just started with, canned foods. So there's quite a few things here. And what's really exciting to me about this, and part of the reason why, I even started doing this in the beginning, was the community, the prepper community is, really just fantastic. And a lot of this content that, you see here in these free resources actually been submitted by people voluntarily, right? Someone wanted to help the community, and they said, what can I do? And I said, what, we could really use help building out some of the information on this canned food reference. And they said, okay, I'm on it. So they started doing the research. They're even starting to add recipes for things that aren't as simple as a single ingredient in a can. So it gives people some ideas, and it gives them the information that they would need in order to add that to their food inventory. So
sweet, man. Okay, so you have a wealth of tools available to help people at any part of their journey, man. So I appreciate that. So I'm definitely interested in diving in further and balancing my preps out, just because, as I mentioned, I haven't done a good job with that, so I can admit that. So I am interested in getting my calories up.
That's great.
Oh, man. But no, so for those tuning in, man, I appreciate everybody taking time to hang out with us and just dive into something completely new to the channel here, because getting our calories up will be very important, and it's very important already. And I haven't done a good job of encouraging people to do such. So I'm going to put that information up, actually, if I can get my computer, because I'm having some glitches on my side here. But the preppernerd.com, the promo code to join in. So give us a little bit the cost of things, and then what using the promotion code could offer people in savings, if you don't mind.
Sure. So yeah, the cost of this is based on, basically my costs.
Hmm.
At first I was doing this completely, as a, you know, I was just donating my time basically, like,
Yeah.
because like I said, I felt so much gratitude for the community, and just really felt like, at home in the community. I wanted to just provide my skills, and strengths to the
Yeah.
community. And I did that for a long time. I did that, well, about 3 months, until I got to the point where, Smartsheet was going to start charging me a lot of money,
Hmm.
to continue to add people to the system. So I did end up having to charge. I probably gave away 100 or around 100, prep systems. But
Hmm.
I'm really grateful to those people too, because they helped to spread the word about the system.
Hmm.
They helped me to, any questions that came up or challenges that they had, enabled me to make improvements to the system. So that was
Hmm.
really helpful to get this to where it is today.
Yeah.
So based on my cost, and to answer your question, the price for this is, it's $49 per year, which, if
Hmm.
you think about it, is about $4 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, and the coupon that I'm offering to your audience, Mike, is $20 off per year. So not just the first year, but every year. So that would be just $29 a year.
Hmm.
Which, if you think about it, what is that? $2 or $2.50 per year. I
Yeah.
think that's pretty reasonable for the value that it offers. Not to mention, like we said, somewhat toward the beginning, the money that you could save using a
Hmm.
system like this, and being organized, and it helping you,
Yeah.
you know, rotate through your food, whether it's, your regular pantry, or, prep pantry, so to speak.
Yeah.
It can help you save a lot of money over time.
Yeah.
So, there's also some other options for people.
Hmm.
One of the things that was asked for, I resisted for a while, because
Hmm.
there is quite a bit of work on my part to get people set up initially. So that's
Yeah.
why I kind of opted for the annual subscription
Hmm.
originally. But I just, I wanted to make this as accessible as possible to people. So I started offering a 30-day trial.
Hmm.
It's just a $10, upfront cost, but instead of $49 upfront, it's $10 upfront, right? So it's a lot easier to say, okay, I'll give this a shot. You can cancel for any reason if you want to before that 30 days, and you'll never be charged again.
Hmm.
And then otherwise it's the same price as the yearly. But at that point, you would have already used it. You already know you love it. And yeah, so, and then there's the monthly plan, which, some people just don't like committing to an annual subscription.
Hmm.
So I offer this monthly plan. It's the same upfront cost, just because of my time involved in getting people set up. And
Yeah.
then it's just $7 a month, every 30 days. So, but with your coupon, what was the coupon again? I'm
RTD. Just an
drawing a
RTD.
blank. Oh yeah, RTD.
Yeah, I'm trying to put up on the screen here, but I was mentioning the internet part, so I was just saying it's not working. So anyway, so I'll put it in the description so anybody who watch after the fact.
So yeah, so that coupon code RTD will knock off either $20 off of this option, or it'll
Hmm.
knock 20% off of this option, which is roughly equivalent, and it'll knock off a little bit off of this $10,
Hmm.
and it'll knock off $2 a month off of this option. So it ends
Yeah.
up being just $5 a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're at.
Understandable. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking time to share with us this valuable tool, because it definitely it helps organize. So it's definitely something. If taking the time to enter your stuff, you can definitely be better off. And as far as I like the idea of saving money, because I think about all the stuff I threw out in the garbage, man, just because I forgot about it and didn't have a reminder to eat it or to give it to somebody who could use it or something like that. So
Right.
money wasted, man, yeah, it adds up. So I look forward to having some reminders telling me that it's time to eat some stuff or donate it or something like that, man. But Mike, man, also direct people back to your YouTube channel as well, the Prepper Nerds, so they can stay up to date. And you also go subscribe, and because this is a new journey for you as well, so you're gonna be learning and adding new stuff, man. So feel free to point it back in your direction.
Yeah, so I've got a YouTube channel. It's linked here on my website at prepper-nerd.com. It's just a link right here. And this takes you to kind of a playlist that's intended for people, kind of assessing whether this is the right thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with that promo video that we saw a little bit earlier. There's a 2-minute feature overview that's here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really cool review from a Udemy teacher who actually has over 15,000 students that does courses on preparedness.
Mm-hmm.
And, he shared his view of the prep inventory system. So it was really cool to hear, an objective perspective and really how important he felt it was to be organized and how valuable this tool is. So I included that here. A lot of people bring up questions about privacy and security. So I have a video about that here.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a video specifically on, a couple, you asked a couple times about, what is it like to be a new user? So I've got a video on that. Tons of feedback, in case you're interested in seeing like what this system has meant to people actually using it. There's just been tons of amazing feedback, and which really propels me, encourages me to get, invest even more of my time into it to support the community. And this last one's about premium support, which is an option when you check out for like more customization if you want it.
Okay, well, good deal. So, Mike, man, I appreciate you taking time, as I mentioned. Thank you for educating us, and actually, definitely on my end, man, as I mentioned, exposing how imbalanced I am. So, I appreciate it, man. But definitely, I'll put information because my internet is acting up on my side, so it's not letting me pop stuff up. But I'll have the promotion code and stuff like that for those that are interested. So, I definitely am, I'm involved, man, because I need it. So. But Mike, looking forward to having you on back down the line. And we'll check in, and if we can work on that group accountability side of things at some point, I would love to have that. 'Cause I think it'd be fun to be able to call people out, and of course we can use like little nicknames, won't be our actual names and stuff like that. So a lot of people, I'm assuming, will be concerned with privacy and stuff like that, and so I want to make sure we can iron it out if that is the case. But Mike, I appreciate you, my man, for joining us.
Appreciate you too. Thanks so much, Mike.
All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed it, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're interested, the information will be beneath here, prepper-nerd.com, and use the RTD promo code and save yourself a couple dollars if you're interested. So other than that, be blessed, be safe. See you guys later. Hang on there for a second, Mike.